Hi there, I'm Michael Croker and I've been commissioned by Dame Alice School to produce a portrait of the departing headmistress, Jill Berry, who will be leaving next summer, if I'm not mistaken. And this is our second session of the portrait, which will take, I think, about 10 sittings. We've booked 10 and it'll probably take that length of time, I think, to do, as you see, 3-foot canvas as it stands, completely bare and unruined at the moment. The first session we had, we've actually had a go at sorting out the composition, which is why Jill is now perched precariously on a step which has raised her above my eye level. Because she's going to be reading in the portrait, which is something we discussed, I wanted to be able to see her face as clearly as possible. So by raising her up, it gives me an opportunity to actually ensure that we can see her face, not just the top of her head. What I've tried to do also is to relate Jill's portrait to one of the predecessors' portraits actually already at the school, which also has books, obviously painted in a library, I would think. And we've decided to include some books at this stage, I hasten to add, as part of the background. Okay, so the first session we've had already, in which we did a portrait drawing, which I can show you here, which is just a provisional pencil drawing just to establish the pose. One of the things, obviously, from Jill's point of view is to ensure that the pose is comfortable, but also says something about the person. Now, at our first meeting, which I think was back in February, March time, we talked about how Jill would actually like to be portrayed, and her first apprehensive thing was, I don't think I'll be able to sit still solidly for 2 hours. So Jill suggested the idea of reading, which I quite like because it gives the portrait a certain degree of intimacy, but also makes the connection with Jill's background as an English teacher, and obviously is incredibly well read. So you can see already one of the things we're considering is stacking up piles of books to actually be part of the background. It's an arbitrary choice. Jill may be looking at some of these and thinking, gosh, I wouldn't touch that book with a barge pole.
I'm thinking I've read most.
But it will give something behind the figure to actually make it relevant to the portrait itself. So today is going to be the blocking in the provisional stage, broadly laying down the composition, ensuring that the figure sits comfortably within the shape of the canvas. I've opted for a square proportion, which I hope will sort of allow Jill to sit comfortably within the proportion of the picture. So thanks, Jill. That's the end of the first painting session. And what I've tried to do is establish the basic colour harmony, because there's some fantastic variations of skin colour, and obviously the Bordeaux sun has given some really resonant colour. But it's all about the colour relationship between the jacket and the skin tones. So first couple of sessions will be just simply trying to block in the general shape and form of the picture. So lightness at this stage is not the immediate priority. It's getting the composition settled, trying to get a sense of the way the shapes are interlocking across the picture. But really it's very much about the colour bouncing off this fantastic coloured jacket, which is the bit that I'm really enjoying. So always exciting, the first session, simply in terms of what the potential of the picture can be. So hopefully we'll get rid of the white in the next couple of sessions, which will allow me to then start working back into the head. So here we are, session 4 I think it is. I've lost track. It's October the 1st today, so we've kind of moved on since the first session, since John last filmed, so it's hopefully a noticeable difference. I'm really enjoying painting Jill's head. The fact she's engrossed in her book. It's quite interesting to feel that one's kind of in an intimate moment, in the sense that she's absorbed by what she's reading, and I'm kind of almost voyeuristically looking into her own private thoughts. So what I'm trying to do, I hope, is actually get that engagement with the literature. Plus I'm getting the added bonus of the odd readings, which actually draws me into the whole thing as well. The books are an added complication, and that was one of the things we kind of knew would be involved in the first session when we discussed the idea of books. But I do think it gives it some kind of added interest that you wouldn't necessarily have if it was just a straight portrait with a with a dull background, so to speak. So another pile of books have yet to appear on the right hand side. I want to actually include something there just to counterbalance the books on the left hand side. So the overall emphasis, I hopefully, is going to be a pyramidal composition, so with the head at the apex of the triangle. So the books have got to be slightly lower, I'm anticipating, on the right hand side later on, but that's something I'm going to be working on between this sitting and the next one, which I think is in 2 weeks' time. So it's all, I would say we're probably kind of 3/4 of the way there, with Jill actually being here, and the background is something I'll be able to work on when she's not here. She'll be delighted to hear, because obviously that will take a lot more time. We've had quite an involved conversation about whether or not the book should have a specific title, but we like the idea that over the course of the sittings Jill's probably going to have read about 10 books, so it's going to be deliberately ambiguous, so we're just going to hint at something. So hopefully it will be there with the viewer able to fill in whatever title they like to. So here we are then, the final portrait. After all the sittings, the final framed image concluding Jill Berry's tenure as headmistress at Dame Alice School. Since last seen, a lot of the background has happened. The books are now in place, as we discussed earlier on. There was a big discussion about what the background should be. So a lot of work has gone into the background in particular to try and resolve the painting and to make it as complete and unified as possible. Obviously, since the books have gone in, what I wanted to do is to make sure that they were there without them becoming over-dominant or detracting from Jill in any way. One thing I think I'm particularly pleased with is the triangular composition, the shape of the arm and the enclosed space here between the arm, book and the head, which is kind of repeated in some of these smaller triangles elsewhere in the painting. Something that I thought was particularly challenging of interest was the reflected light. When we started this painting last year in the summer, the light was particularly intense, and we had this lovely pink bouncing off from the jacket onto the arm. And that was something that I was particularly conscious of, and I love the sort of repetition of the colour on the book in particular, then onto the jacket, and then picking up on the arm and then into the face. So I hope those kind of echoes of colours through the picture have made it a more satisfying and resolved composition altogether. And it will be very interesting to see if anybody picks up on the hidden code within the picture, and I'm hoping that people will pick up on that in the future and find that there are other things going on in the picture than just books in the background. In terms of problems and challenges within the picture, I think obviously one of the, always with any portrait, the concern is the actual features and the portrait, the head itself, making the figure feel engaged with the actual thing that they're doing, in this particular instance Jill reading the book. And I feel that I hope, certainly caught that sense of Jill being engrossed in what she's doing. And I think that was one of the challenges and things we discussed in the early stages of the painting, was whether or not it would work as a portrait, and I hope that's something we have managed to overcome and resolve satisfactorily. So now that the portrait's complete, all that remains is for the unveiling at Dame Alice Harbour School next term, and I look forward to that and seeing how it's received by the people, the staff that know Jill best. So I look forward to that.
I explained to you that because I didn't feel I could sit for 10 hours and do anything, I asked the artist if he would paint portraits of you reading, and he did. And when it goes up in the board, I want you to look very carefully at the books. And I will say no more. Well, I will, I'll say. If you see the message in the books, keep it to yourself, let other girls discover it for themselves. So this is the portrait.
It's really my idea.
Tell me what you think about the portrait.
I'll tell you exactly what I think. This is it.
Stand next to it.
Well, this is actually my idea of Nirvana in the sense of being surrounded by books. I know Jill reads many more books than I do, but it's the best sort of activity for me, apart from walking, and seeing her there sort of resonates the whole idea of studying and encouraging us all to keep moving forward, which is what she's done over the last decade.
So here it is, in its place. I hadn't realised until it was put up there that it is actually as big as it is, and it's square, unlike the others. I am pleased with it. I like the colours. I'm pleased I chose to wear red. And I think it has captured my concentration. I know it's a very serious face because I'm reading rather than smiling, but I think it's appropriate that it's a portrait of me reading because I do a lot of reading. And I do want the girls to have a careful look at the books down the left-hand side and see what they can see there. I like my bangles. I think he's captured my bangles extremely well. And I hope it serves as a record of things that were important to me, like books.